This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening and welcome to AnCan's virtual chat support group for low and intermediate risk prostate cancer for Monday, January the 26th, 2026. A special welcome to our first time visitors as well as hello to our regular participants. I am Boykin Jordan, your moderator for this evening. I'll be assisted by Bill Franklin and Stuart Jordan, no relationship, tonight. And we expect Rick Davis, our founder, to join us at some point tonight during this session. AnCan would like to note that this group is a peer-to-peer support group and should not be construed as medical advice. We are here to share our collective experience and answer your questions. We hope to provide you valuable information that we encourage you to discuss with your doctors. Before we begin, AnCan would like to thank our sponsors for all of our prostate cancer virtual support groups. They are Bayer, Novartis, Johnson & Johnson, Myriad Genetics, Telex, Blue Earth Diagnostics, and Fountain Medicine, as well as thanking our participant base. If you would like to support AnCan, please visit our website at www.ancan.org. At AnCan, we have multiple prostate cancer support groups for our attendees. We have a group that focuses on active surveillance for those who are considering or have opted to postpone or avoid an active treatment. Tonight's group, which addresses those with low and intermediate risk prostate cancer, that are those people that are planning for or have had an active treatment. We do not address recurrence in this group and instead invite those people to join our high risk recurrent and advanced prostate cancer group. We also have special groups for veterans and men under 60. Okay, with that, I see our founder Rick is here. It's an introduction. Good evening, Rick.
Good evening, everybody.
Good, so good.
Good evening. Good evening.
So we're gonna, yep, thanks. So Ron, we're gonna start off with you, and can you give us your first and last name and your age, please?
First name is Ron, last name Sharp, Sharpe, and I just turned 69 in December.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ron. And Canada is good enough for where you live for us. Okay, thank you. What was your PSA at diagnosis?
38.
Okay. Have you had an MRI yet?
No.
Okay. Have you had a biopsy?
Yes.
Okay. All right. How many cores were taken? Do you know how many cores of samples were taken?
6.
6 cores? Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to know the Gleason of them?
Yes, but how many were positive first?
5 were positive.
5 positive? Okay.
And 1 benign.
Okay. And what was your Gleason?
3 at 7 and 1 at 6.
Okay. 2 at 7 and 3 at 6.
Right. Do you want the breakdown of the 7s and the 6s?
Yes.
For the 7s, we have 2 3 plus 4s, 1 4 plus 3, or I should say 2 4 plus 3s, and the 6 was a 3 plus 3.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Okay. Do you know what kind of how your was it a fusion biopsy?
It was a needle biopsy, transplant transrectal, I guess, is that what it's called?
Transrectal?
Yeah.
Yeah, they went through your rectum?
Yes.
Okay, that would be transrectal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he stated that he didn't have an MRI at all, so it could have been a fusion biopsy.
Mm.
Is that right, Ron?
Yeah, that's correct. No MRI.
Well, no MRI at all, right? So not even for the not a diagnosis, no MRI, no biopsy before they did the.
No, they did, I think, ultrasound guided, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave it for now, but I'm just wondering if it sounds like it wasn't a blind, what they call a blind biopsy. I mean,
I think it probably was. Like, I'm not sure about that, if they were targeting any particular areas.
Sounds like it was.
yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like they didn't have anything to guide them as far as an
Right.
area of concern because he didn't get an MRI or any other kind of
Yeah,
imaging before the biopsy. So
right. Okay. So we'll keep working our questions and we'll come back to talk about that.
Sure.
Have you gotten a second opinion on your biopsy results yet?
I have not.
Okay. Okay. Have you had a PET scan done?
No. I have asked my doctor if I could have one of those in the future, and he said I could. A PSMA PET scan, I've read
Right.
up on them, right? But no, I have not.
Okay. Okay. These next questions focus on your medical team. Are you working with a radiation oncologist?
I had one appointment last July with an oncologist. He was the one that wanted me to go into treatment right away, and I declined to do that. He was suggesting ADT and radiation, and I said no, I was going to sit back and wait, and that was last July.
Okay, but I was asking about a radiation oncologist, or
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. He's an oncologist, but I don't know if
he's
he.
just an oncologist. Okay,
Yes.
okay, all right. So I'm just going to leave it that way because normally we look to try to see if you had a radiation, a medical, or urology. There's different types of oncologists, but that's okay.
Yeah. And I have not seen a urologist, so.
Oh, okay. You just have seen an oncologist. Probably, I'm not going to try to speculate.
Well, I think it would have been a radiation oncologist if he recommended radiation and he recommended ADT.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know anything more about that, Dr. Ron? Or?
No, I don't. I could probably look him up locally here to see what his credentials are.
Okay. And in Canada, what medical system are you in?
We have complete health care here. There's no cost to residents. The system is a little bit slow at times, but generally, if you want to go in for treatment, I'm in a city right now that has a cancer treatment center.
What province are you in, Ron?
I'm in towards the West Saskatchewan.
In Saskatchewan. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. That's good enough. You know, we have a little bit of experience in Saskatchewan.
Okay. As I mentioned at the beginning, I learned about this group through PCRI in Los Angeles last September. I just happened to find out about that group, and AnCan was there with a table.
Cool. That's good. Yep, yep. Okay. So that was the next question I was going to ask is how did you learn about us? And then do we have your email or how are we staying in touch with you?
I don't know. I picked up the brochure and I've been kind of just not gotten to being part of this group yet. So I don't think I've left an email address, but I could leave that with you tonight.
Yeah, if you want to put that in the chat and then we'll
Sure.
take that out of the chat.
Okay.
Your email and your phone number is what we
Sure.
that way we can stay in touch with you.
Sure.
Okay. And you know how to put that in the chat. You see that on your computers, the two things that look like quotation box.
Oh, I should be able to find it here.
Yeah, it looks like a little quote box.
Looks like cartoon speech bubbles next to the little
Yeah.
little person with the number 14 next to him. Up in the upper right-hand corner.
All right. Oh, okay. Here we go. Chat. Here we go.
Yeah. Yep, just put that in there. Okay.
Sure.
So so you said your PSA was 38 at diagnosis? Was that in June or July or?
The PSA was probably around April.
April of 2025?
Right, April 2025. For whatever reason, I didn't have a PSA in 24. In 2023, it was around 7.
So what is it? Do you know what it is now? Have you had a recent PSA
I had
test?
I had an update in September, and it actually went up from 38 to 48. And I've kind of decided maybe I don't want to get any more PSA tests if it's heading that direction. But yeah, in September it was 48.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me. When was the biopsy?
July.
Okay.
So you had a PSA rise of 10 from April to September, but the biopsy was in a
July.
couple months before that.
Yeah.
Right.
In between.
Yep.
Okay. So, you sound a little bit like me. Your PSA is on the rise. So I would not be waiting if I was you. You need to figure out something, whatever it is you're gonna do. And I just wouldn't try to put off with your numbers that you was reading out with the 2+3s and with the PSA numbers. I would not be, if it was me, deferring or waiting long for treatment. I think you need to,
Yeah, the comment you made earlier, Ron, about getting a PSMA test, your doctor said it was possible. I think that you should get one sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Probably pretty quick to help, guide you toward a treatment option.
Right.
Yeah, the oncologist did say that, it was within the prostate at that point, but he said once it escapes the capsule, of course, then things can metastasize, and that's not good. I'm quite aware of that.
Okay.
The thing is with me right now, too, I feel completely fine. I'm athletic. I walk, I bike, and all that sort of thing. And it's like, to me, I've looked at all the side effects, and that's why I don't really want to go down that route right now.
Yeah.
How does he know it's still in the capsule?
Okay, so I'm going to say a couple of things here, Ron. First of all, this is not the right group for you.
Okay.
And the reason for that is your PSA level puts you in a high risk and not in a low intermediate risk. The Gleason score alone would put you in a intermediate, high intermediate, but the fact that your PSA is over 20 puts you in a high risk, which I noted when you said that earlier on. Secondly, the fact that you don't feel anything is irrelevant. And I don't mean to put the fear of God in you, but I want to. You need to get treated yesterday. There's no way that you can know, as David just pointed out, there's no way that we can know whether this cancer has metastasized or not. We're not doctors. I don't know. We've been around the field, and I've been around the field a long time, and your diagnosis gives me a great deal of concern. There is no time to wait. Your doctors, I cannot believe your doctors let you go this far and hasn't ordered a PSMA. I don't know the situation with PSMA scans in Saskatchewan, but I suspect that you are, with a PSA of 48, you're eligible for a PSMA scan immediately. And then we've got to start talking to you about what's the best type of treatment for you. It's most likely not surgery, The reason being that there's a very good chance you will need radiation and hormone therapy even after surgery. And we would prefer to discuss this in the group tomorrow night, which is a little earlier. It starts at 6 o'clock Eastern. I don't know, you're on Central. Are you on Central time there in Saskatchewan?
Central time, that's right.
Okay. So it'll start at 5 o'clock Central in this same room. And there'll be, some of these people will be there, but mostly not. It'll be people with a little more advanced and much more advanced. They'll be able to give you peer experience. But with your diagnosis of 2, 4 plus 3s, and we haven't even done an MRI and a PSA of 48, you don't want to be running away from this.
Okay.
If you want to stay on this side of the grass. And I'm sorry to put it so bluntly, but this is a serious diagnosis. Just because you weren't 4 plus 4 or 4 plus, and we don't really know that because we haven't gotten a second opinion. We may not have seen all of the cancer. There's a whole bunch of reasons why we can't really tell right now whether in fact you're 4 plus, if that 4 plus 3 is definitive or whether it's worse than 4 plus 3. But your my concern is that your PSA is high.
Okay.
PSA is high like that. Do you have a history of cancer in your family?
My father had bowel cancer years ago. That's
Okay.
the history.
Okay, that's for those of you here. That's Canadian English terminology for colorectal. And I'm sure you haven't done any genetic testing of any sort.
No, I've not.
I'm sure, but I suspect.
Yeah, I'm aware there's 2 types of genetic testing, but I've not done either.
Okay, well, I would start with the germline and tell your doctor you want a germline test, because germline means inherited. And what we want to rule out is that you're not carrying a mutation. Like, you know, if your dad had colorectal, you could be carrying Lynch syndrome, because that runs in the same family, and that also changes things. But I really, really would urge you, come in tomorrow, we'll guide you. But you tell your doc you need an MRI and a PSMA as soon as you can. Tell us again what your doc said when you wanted when you asked for those.
My GP, I went in to see him here a couple months ago now, and he said he would respect my wishes and he would track me as a patient and do whatever I asked him to do. So I'm sure if I went back to him, asked him, you know, if I wanted to get an MRI or a PSMA scan, he would give me the appropriate referrals.
I mean, what bothers me is that he's not telling you that you have to get it, because we're not docs. Right. In this room, or no, we don't have any docs in this room right now. We will have a bunch of docs in the room tomorrow, but his job is to say, you got a problem, you need to track it. You can't just to let you keep going when you were 38 and then you went up to 48 and he's not jumping in.
Well, probably some of that is my own doing, because I went in there fairly strongly saying that, you know, I wanted to just sit back and not jump into everything. And maybe it was contrary to what he would recommend. But as I said, I'm sure I had quite a part in that. I had gone.
I'm sure you did, Ron, but he should have told you you can do that, but you're putting your life at risk.
Okay. I don't know if he put it quite that bluntly or not. But yeah, that's where it's at. Right, sure.
Well,
I can
Ron?
take part in the group tomorrow night, and that might be a better avenue than I guess I didn't realize about this.
Yeah, you're.
Well,
Go ahead, Rick.
go ahead.
Go
No, you
ahead,
go
Rick.
ahead. It's not, we don't often, we talk about a lot of things making you high risk. Like if it's out the capsule or it's metastasized, it's locally metastasized, if it's a 4+4 or 4+5. The one thing that slips under the radar quite often is a high PSA. And I was pretty sure, but I just double checked in something I have in a reference that I have here. And if your PSA is over 20, you're considered to be high risk. Notwithstanding, you could be a 3+3 with your PSA over 20, and you'd still be considered high risk. Now, the chances are, if you were 3+3 and your PSA was over 20, you probably have an infection or BPH or something like that. But if you're a 4+3 and your PSA is over 20, that's another ball game.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Ron, I can't add much more than what Rick and Boykin have told you right now. But I was a lot younger than you, and I had a more serious disease, and I felt fine. I had some small symptoms as far as urinary symptoms, and that's why I went in, but I didn't feel bad. I was in great shape physically. I was 51 years old, So the fact that you don't feel bad, your PSA numbers and the other things are saying something different, right?
Okay.
You feel fine, but you've got an issue that you need to take care of. And I think you'll be well served in the advanced group tomorrow.
Okay. Great.
So, hey, Ron, I think you got the message loud and clear. You got it subtle, then you got it a little harder, and then you got it direct.
Okay.
Go to that group tomorrow. That's where you need to be, my friend.
Great. I will do that. Thank you for your input tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was going to add one more thing. When Rick said there'll be doctors in the group tomorrow, they'll be your prostate cancer peers. They're not doctors that we have on at AnCan. They're men with prostate cancer that will be happy to talk to you about prostate cancer. So
sure. Okay.
They just have their medical doctors too. Sorry, Rick.
No, I was just going to say, anybody else here in the room would like to say anything to Ron or have anything they would want to point out? Go ahead, John.
Yeah, the one thing, Ron, you echoed is you're afraid of side effects. Don't be, because ignoring this is going to make things a whole lot worse. I had MRI guided radiation, and I was terrified of side effects. And 14 months out, I have nothing, no side effects at all. So that seems to be what's holding you back. That's what I heard loud and clear.
How long ago did you have your MRI guided radiation?
14 months.
Okay.
And basically, no side effects, no incontinence, no sexual side effects yet. So I was terrified myself. So that's.
And your age?
69. I just turned 69.
Same with me then. Yeah. Okay.
And we'll verify for you in this room that John was terrified, because we saw it here and it took us a long time to get him into treatment. And so when he says that, it's music to our ears. I just want to say everybody's different. Just because it was John doesn't mean, but I'll say one other thing too. You don't want to deal with advanced metastasized prostate cancer. It's just not pretty. It's not pleasant. And if you don't nip it in the bud and very quickly, you're going to be dealing with stuff you don't want. And in Canada, you don't have access to the same treatment that we have here in the United States. So it's going to make, we've worked with a bunch of people in Canada. It's so much harder to get the treatment for you that you need. So
Right.
you have some other hands up.
Okay, do. So Larry, you want to go?
Yes. When I first got my diagnosis, I made a deep dive into research, educated myself as best I could on the treatments that were available, and I went down the side effects and picked which ones I thought were most tolerable. And I talked to my doctors about it, and I, made them make me part of my decision-making team. I recommend that to anyone. There's a lot of people who just want to say, "Doc, do what you think's best," and I don't fault them for that. But I took the other route. I made myself part of the team. And welcome to the club. Nobody wants to join, and I hope for the best for you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm kind of the research type person. I've got a tech background, and obviously, I've done a lot of homework on it, and it's like, yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Hey, Stuart, you're next.
Ron, obviously, you've had a lot of stuff dumped on you this evening, but you came and I just want to check and see what were you looking to do this evening? Were there questions that you had that you wanted to ask or address? So
Not particularly. I was actually just looking for a group that have maybe had people in similar situations to mine that were doing active surveillance and holding off. So, but obviously, as you stated with the PSA that I'm at, that you're feeling that is probably not a good option right now, that I should be, going back to the doctor. So, and yeah, maybe tomorrow night, if I join the group there, that would be a good place to get some more advice.
Okay, Albert.
Yeah, Ron, I wanted to say that talking about side effects, I was worried about side effects too, especially of the ADT. And I've since heard from a lot of members, some of whom are here tonight, of AnCan and this group and another group, that if you're one thing you have going for you is that you're physically active. And if you stay super physically active, then if you read about horror stories, which I did, about ADT, then the people that exercise the most seem to do the best with it. And some even have very minimal symptoms. So you hadn't brought up that particular side effect. I thought you might encounter it and worry about it because there are a lot of horror stories about people, especially they're sedentary. So I just wanted to throw that out.
Okay. Good information.
Hey, okay, David.
I'd like to second what John said. I was just treated in July, and I have no side effects at all. So if you go on forums like Facebook prostate cancer groups, you read all these horror stories. A lot of those are probably guys who didn't go to a very good doctor or who were treated a long time ago. But these days, radiation in particular is really quite good. It varies from person to person what the outcome is, but it really is superior to what it was 10 years ago. But secondly, just to make you aware of this, I'm concerned about the biopsy you had. It was, in my opinion, substandard because it wasn't an MRI guided biopsy, which means they just stuck those probes in there randomly.
Yeah, random biopsy, right?
And even for a blind biopsy, they only did 6. It's typical, even in this country, when doctors are doing a blind biopsy, to do roughly 13 or so.
Okay, well, there's 6 areas, but 2 per core, or right? 2 per area, if I'm reading this right.
Oh, really? Okay, so there were 12 or so? 12,
right.
12 went in? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's still a fusion is better. So this is just one more reason why getting an MRI and a PSMA scan is a really good idea.
So on that note too, I've done a bit of reading on that. They don't even recommend needle biopsies, that the MRI type of biopsy is superior. Is that maybe an agreement in this group?
The new standard is transperineal. Not a yeah.
Okay. perineal because of the risk of infection
Infection.
from the transrectal. And I did go to a local support group in person, and somebody ended up in the hospital with severe infection from a transrectal. He said he'd never do that type of a biopsy again.
Right. A transperineal biopsy largely avoids that risk. So a MRI-guided transperineal would really be the best choice if you ever need another one.
Okay.
Mhm.
But let me just clarify something for you. In any case, whether it's transperineal or transrectal, they're still going to do a needle biopsy. It's a question of where they're going to put the needle. Doing all these different things, getting an MRI, getting a PSMA, getting anything else, is not going to bypass the need to take a tissue sample from the prostate, or maybe even from outside the prostate, depending on what they see. And the way they do that is with a needle. The reason that we do these other things is A, for better accuracy, and B, for better patient safety.
Yeah, they can't make a definitive diagnosis of cancer without actually taking a sample of the area, right? The actual my mind went blank. I was going to say flesh, the actual, material that the needle grabs from your body. But,
Tissue.
Tissue.
That's the word. That's the one I was thinking of.
You're supposed to say bless you when I say
Bless
tissue.
you.
Thank you.
And
Look,
I'm aware too that probably the slides that were initially done at the biopsy should maybe be sent to a center of excellence. When I was in LA for the PCRI conference, they suggested sending the slides for a second opinion to Mayo, or what they call the center of excellence. Somebody does it day in, day out.
so we it's probably pinned because my guys are so good, and I see something's pinned.
Yeah,
And
they are.
I bet that's what it is.
That's what it is.
So is that what it is?
That's what it is. Up there
Yes.
twice.
So if you look at the top, there's a little push pin with a red dot on it.
Yeah.
Next to the chat, right?
Yes, I see it. Yeah.
And if you press on that, there are two addresses in there. And those are the two pathologists that we recommend you use. Gentlemen as well. One is at Mount Sinai, and the other used to be at Johns Hopkins, and he's now an independent, and he trained the other guy. And and now you will have to talk to them about what arrangements they make for people in Canada. I'm sure they do. We don't have any other Canadians in here, I don't think, tonight.
No, we don't.
There may be Canadians tomorrow night in the group. But ideally, those are the two doctors that have, we think, the best eye, maybe globally, definitely in the United States. And they're not expensive. Certainly within the United States, I think one of them charges $250, $300, the other charges $450. But it's really important for us to see the extent, and also, at some point you're really gonna need, and no doubt they'll refer you to a urologist as well. I mean, you say you haven't seen a urologist, but a urologist had to do your biopsy. Who did your biopsy?
I think they had a pathologist right at our cancer center here in our city here.
Well, that would be to read the slides, but who took the cause? Somebody had to stick that needle in you.
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
person who stuck that needle in you was a urologist, because they're
Okay.
the only people that do it.
Okay. Yeah, I've got the name of the doctor that did that here. So.
Okay. Well, he really probably needed more information. And he, you know, you may want to huddle and see how they want to pursue this. If it were me, the next thing I would do, to be honest, is I'd do a PSMA scan, even before an MRI. Because if, God forbid, we saw that cancer, there was evidence of that cancer outside the prostate, then it would change what we're going to do. But we can get into that with you tomorrow.
Sure. Okay. Oh, that's good advice. And I know my doctor will make a referral for that PSMA scan. They're not done in our city, but I'm only about 2.5 hours away from the city that does PSMA scans, PET scans.
Which would be, where are you thinking of?
I'm in Regina, Saskatchewan. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan has.
Yeah, in Saskatoon, yeah.
They've got the PSMA PET scan. Apparently, we're going to get one here at some point.
And even though it's a bit of a way, we are aware of a couple of decent docs in Winnipeg.
Okay. Great.
I know the distances are huge, but the other problem is that good docs are not readily available, and there will probably be a gent in there tomorrow night who from Winnipeg who went through what you're going through about a year ago.
Okay. Great.
In fact,
well, thank you very much. I don't want to take any more of your time.
Sorry?
I said I don't want to take any more of your time. So yeah,
I'll drop him a line and ask him if he can show up, to be sure. He's usually there, but I'll drop him a line and ask him if he can be there.
And hey, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Rick. And thank you everybody else too. Thanks. It was informative.
Good. Glad we were able to help, and we got your email information, so we'll make sure that gets passed along.
Great. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. Okay. Yep. You can hang around. You don't have to go.
Hang in. Yeah, hang in.
Hang around. Yeah, don't go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not how this works. You don't get to just take our time and then go. Hey, Paul. How you doing?
Hey, good. Thanks. Hey, this is probably don't need to share in the group tonight. Hey, Rick, can I talk to you sometime this weekend? Reach out to you.
Not really, Paul. Let me be just real candid with you. I don't have the bandwidth to do one-on-one navigation. If you want to raise something, now's the time to do it. Because
because I was Richard from Silver Spring. I think he talked to you about myself at one of the other group meeting. He told me that you told him that you went through the same experience during your journey. So I just wanted just between you and I, because I think we share the same thing.
Well, I don't know what you're referring to, but I'm happy to talk to you about it now. This is the time to do it.
Okay. Well, okay. So yes. All right. Yeah. I talked about it briefly a couple of meetings ago. So 9 months in for my radiation treatment, started getting some rectal bleeding, and then it kept on going. So did go get GI, and he diagnosed it as radiation proctitis.
Right.
So I'm on a sucralose enema treatment here now.
Right.
A couple of enema self-administered. Go ahead.
Again, this is another topic that we'd be better off discussing in the group tomorrow night. There are several guys in that group who have dealt, including myself, who have dealt with radiation proctitis. Yeah, I was going to say including Bill. And we have experience. We have people who have been through the laser ablations and different treatments. And it's a better group to talk in, because whilst we can talk about some side effects in here, we don't like to do it in this group because many of the guys in this group either have not yet been treated and they don't want to hear about it, or they've just been treated and they haven't gotten that far. So that's why we don't like to sort of concern them. Bill, do you want to say something on that?
No, I was going to say, Paul, I was going to say the same thing, Paul. If Lynn is there tomorrow, Lynn and I had very similar tracks with radiation proctitis. We had very similar treatments. So, I mean, come to the group tomorrow, and Lynn, if
that's
I'm
the
there,
advance, right?
Yeah,
correct.
I know Lynn would be happy to talk to you about it. If I'm there, I'll talk to you about it also.
Yeah, and Len's moderating the group tomorrow.
There you go.
Okay. So same. What time is that, please?
It will be earlier. It will be at
6
o'clock. It'll be at 6. Yeah, 6 o'clock Eastern.
Same link, right?
Same
link,
room.
yes.
Yeah, same link.
Same
Yes.
link.
Same room? Okay.
Paul, you'll get polled and asked if you need time, and just say yes, I do. And if they say, if they say, are you new? I would say yes, but I'm here to talk about I'm here I've been in the other groups for many years, and I'm here to talk specifically about radiation proctitis. And then, Len will decide if he wants to take you through it. But tell him that when he asks you, if you're new, because I don't think you've been in that group before.
No, I have not.
No. So, and all right. I'll be there, and I'll give Len. I've got to make Alain. I've got to send a note to Alain for Ron, and I got to send a note to Len, Alain, and Paul.
Okay, thanks. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Brian, let's come to you next.
Yep. Oh, did you say me?
Yes.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been to a couple of these. You guys told me what to do at the last one, so I went and did it. Got a PSA and saw the urologist. I'll just tell you what it was. So basic, I'll keep it short because I get too kind of wound up here. Couldn't pee for 5 years, had an aquablation. I had an MRI, the good one, whatever you call it, multi-high resolution MRI scanner, multiplanar. I had the MRI on last August, and then I had the aquablation on October. And the aquablation, they pulled out 3+4. He said he pulled out 20% of my prostate. It said 70% of that was tumor. And it was 3+4. The 4 was 10%. So you guys told me to get a PSA, and so I did that, and went and saw the urologist and did that. So my PSA 6 months ago was 5.2, and 3.5 months later, after the aquablation, I waited 3.5 months, was no, it was 5.2. 5.2. Before that, it was 4.7. So I went and saw the urologist, new one, yesterday, and he told me I had to wait 6 months before I did a PSA. And he wants to do a biopsy, a regular biopsy. He says, your MRI was, I said, what about the MRI? He goes, no, you don't need an MRI because you already had one, it was clear. I said, so I kind of listened to him, like you guys suggested, listen to him. And then I asked him a bunch of questions. He just said, what's it called? The trust, the transrectal. They don't do the parrot. What do you call it?
They just do the transrectal.
Yeah, they don't do it. And I know you guys suggested going other. This is in Seattle. They do the trust. He says we've already, with the aquablation, they took out the transition zone, so we just need to do the perineal, the outside of the prostate. So they're going to do the 12 samples with an ultrasound. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, kind of cringing, going, "Oh man, this is not what I heard I'm supposed to be doing." So I said, "Can I do the MRI?" No, because you already had one that was normal, because it was a PIRADS 1, 2. I don't know. Is that normal? A 2? This is the only word it says: homogeneous circumcised nodule without capsule. Is that normal? I mean, I don't know. He said your MRI was normal. Your DREs are normal. You don't need an MRI. You just need an ultrasound guided biopsy in April or May, because we got to wait 6 months. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Did he offer any, I'm not familiar with this, but did he offer any rationale for waiting 6 months for the MRI?
Yes, he did. No, I don't get an MRI. I don't get an MRI because I've had one.
Yeah.
Yes, he said, because now my one urologist that did the surgery said you got to wait 3 months before you do PSA. So I did, and it was a 5.2. This new doctor, who's got a lot of experience, many, many years, said I got to wait 6 months before I do the PSA, and then we'll do the biopsy. You know, the transrectal. They don't. He said there's no difference between transperineal and transrectal, which I've looked it up myself, so I know. So that's where I'm at.
So Brian, I think I mentioned this before. I had the transrectal, not the transperineal, so I can't compare the two, and right. I'll never have another prostate biopsy because I don't have a prostate, right? So, but did he give you a rationale for why you need a biopsy but not an MRI? Because to me that just sounds ridiculous.
Right.
Your former MRI was normal, but he wants you to get a biopsy after you did the aquablation because they found prostate cancer, right?
Right, and they took out the transition zone. That's what he drew the picture. Took 20% of my prostate out. So we have to check the outside, what's called the peripheral
Right.
zone. So we got to go in there and check that. And you don't need an MRI because we already did one. And he said the perennial biopsy, your prostate's too small to do that. It's 28 cc's. So we can't really do it, and there's no real benefit. But I've done my own research, so I know and listen to you guys. So so I don't know what to think about that.
Okay. Hey, David, did you have your hand up or did you take it down? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Now, the urologist in question, is he at Fred Hutch? Because
No.
I know last time we spoke, I was asking you, why aren't you going to Fred Hutch since you're in Seattle and you've got prostate cancer? Is this just a local community urologist?
He's at the Seattle VA, and I have to get all my treatment through the VA. And basically, I did just to sign up for Medicare, and I've never used it. I'm 66, never used it, so I don't know how. But that would be another option. But all my care is through the VA, so I kind of got to go through the VA. They've been great about everything. Everything's been really, really spot on. I gotta say that. So I just didn't know, and I remember what you said, David and Stuart and Bill. I take good notes, so I know what you guys said. So I'm just trying to do the right thing.
Using Medicare is just a matter of you go in and hand them your Medicare card. It seems like if you have prostate cancer, you're going to be graduating from that urologist and going to a GU oncologist.
I said, are you a urologist? And he said, yes, but I couldn't find that anywhere on the website. He said, this is the oncology urology department right here. I said, oh, okay. Because all the stuff you guys told me to ask, I did.
That's who you're going to see at the VA. Now, the problem again, and the reason this is happening is because it's VA care.
Right.
So there's a couple of things. First thing is, I really suggest you attend our veterans group, because they know the way around on how to bypass docs that aren't that are going by the book and not going beyond at the VA. It's pretty easy these days, and Bill may know more. I'm not a vet, as you can probably hear, but Bill may know quite a bit about it. Larry may know a bit about it, but there are ways to access community care if you don't think that you're getting. Now, I don't know how easy it is at this stage. What I do know is that we have a lot of knowledge around the VA. We probably even have some knowledge at the Seattle VA, and we can reach out. Bill, this might be a good question to ask Bing if he's. I'm pretty sure Bing's got contacts at the Seattle VA. If you can reach out to him, and I do understand why they don't want to do another MRI, because normally we wouldn't repeat the MRI within 12 to 18 months. And there wasn't anything to see.
That's what I
So
thought.
what they're saying is there probably isn't anything to see right now. What I don't know is what the VA stance is on perineural biopsies. And there may be some fairly high up directives where you can get it, because we work with some people who have been advocating for perineural, and we know the importance, but again, don't exactly know 100%. My feeling is that and why 6 months and not 3 months?
The new. Oh, I'm sorry. We still talking?
I was just going to say.
He told me it has to heal up. It has to heal up more from the aquablation.
It has to heal up. Normally, it would be at least 3 months from a biopsy. And I honestly don't know the healing time after an aquablation.
The guy that did this actual surgery, and I did use community care through the VA, and I would go to the veterans group, but it's Tuesday night, and I can't be there Tuesday night for another 7 or 8 weeks. Otherwise, I'd be there. I did use community care through the VA, and they sent me somewhere where they did the aquablation, because the Seattle VA doesn't do aquablation. So I did that, but that doctor who I went seeing, he told me you got to wait 3 months to do a PSA. So that's what I did. And then when I went and seen the new urologist at the Seattle VA last week, he told me I had to wait 6 months. So the one that did the surgery actually told me to wait 3 months, but the VA told me to wait 6 months. So I don't know.
Look, here's my take, and then let some other people, Stuart and Larry, talk. But your PSA really hasn't moved very much at all.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, right.
And you've got, as far as we know, your slides haven't been reread, although they could be, but as far as we know, it's 3 + 4. So if it were me,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
If it were me, I wouldn't. I mean, obviously, it's making you very anxious.
Yes.
I think there's no real good reason to be anxious, because if the cancer's there, we can manage it. And what we've got to do is just make sure that we've properly assessed that. And do you need another MRI? I mean, did you say that the first biopsy was not MRI guided, or it was MRI guided?
I've only had one biopsy in my life, and it was only when they pulled out the when I had the aquablation, they pulled out 20% of my prostate, and that was what was biopsied. I never had a biopsy other than that.
But have you? I'm not talking about the biopsy. You had an MRI, correct?
Yes, 3 months earlier.
And you had an MRI 3 months before you had the aquablation?
Yes.
And when they did the aquablation, there was nothing suspicious other than what they pulled out, correct?
Well, it just gives me the report. There was PNI, and it said he pulled out 20% of my prostate, and 70% of it was tumor. And it was 3 + 4, and the 4 was 10%, but there was PNI, but nothing else, no IDC or what, none of the
Okay,
other.
so he left some 3+4 tumor in there. Is that correct?
That I would think so.
Okay, so what we've got to try and find out is if we know that that 3+4 tumor is there, then the question is, how are we going to deal with that? And it's quite possible that you could be dealing with that, not in this group. This might not be the group for you again. You might be able to deal with that in the active surveillance group.
I've been there. Love it. Love it.
Okay, so maybe that's the group that we should be pushing you towards, because you don't necessarily need more treatment right now.
That's what he said. He said there's missing parts to the puzzle. We need to do the biopsy, and then we can have a long discussion, is what he said. That's what he said. So I'll be at that group Wednesday night. I go to that group.
So keep going to that group.
Love that group.
Bear with, if it were me, I'd bear with the doctor. He's probably right. And he's probably going to, maybe you do need 6 months, because if you take it too early, it could be a problem. At the same time, your PSA doesn't seem to be moving very much. And what you could do is ask him for another PSA. I doubt he's going to refuse you on that. Just say, look, I'd like, the other doctor said 3 months. You say 6 months. How about we get another PSA? How about,
I just did one. I just did one last week.
Oh, you did one last week, and it was the same, that 5 points, still at 5.6?
Yeah, it was 5.2, and 6 months earlier it was 4.7.
Okay.
And he said it's too soon to do that. The new urologist says too soon. But
all right,
because I got the PSA from the other. It's a long story, but yeah, that's what it was.
Okay, so let's hear what the other guys have to say, and I think maybe just sort of bed down this cancer. The chances that this cancer, we can't give you medical opinions here, but your history doesn't sound like this. This is not the same situation as Ron.
No.
Larry?
Hey, they do have the slides to what they pulled out. I called the hospital and they have 3 different slides. Do I need to do anything with those, or just wait till whatever of what they pulled out? Do I need to have those looked at? Probably not.
It depends. If you want to have them looked at, it's going to be on your dime. You're going to have to get, they've already told you need another biopsy, correct?
Yes.
So I would sit tight until you get the other biopsy. That's what I would do.
Okay.
But if you feel like you want to get a reread, I don't know. Why don't either Larry or Stuart come in?
Thank you. I'm with the Alaska VA, and when they wanted a PSMA PET scan, they sent me to Fred Hutch in Seattle. On their dime, airplane, hotel. When I asked for a second opinion, they gave me Dr. Montgomery at Fred Hutchinson. He works with the VA and University of Washington and Fred Hutch, and he's a real nice guy and highly qualified. So if you just ask for a second opinion, you'll probably be able to get Fred Hutch.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Larry. Very good.
Thanks, okay.
I real quick, David's comment about the Medicare, just if you're not familiar with it, Brian.
I'm not.
If you just have Medicare and you don't have a supplemental plan, if you went that route, you could be exposed to 20% of the cost. So just be a little bit, just be a little bit careful there. If you're trying to use Medicare, you're going to have to do something to prevent having a big out-of-pocket expense.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Henry, why don't you you put a couple of comments and you're a vet. Why don't you put in your 2 cents, please?
I was just suggesting that maybe if you wanted to force the issue, you should have your primary care physician at the VA
Yes.
give you a referral to community care. And if you wanted to go to Fred Hutch, you can suggest that, and they can, if that's in the network, they can refer you to a doctor at Fred Hutch. Me personally, I think sometimes it's best to get out of the VA system and get into a center that's somewhat better than a VA and out in the community and go that route, and you get a better view of what's really going on rather than rely on the VA system itself. I think.
Okay. Thank you. And I am.
Somebody's.
Is the sound working? I am seeing my regular doctor at the VA in 2 weeks, so I am going to do exactly what you just said. See if he'll do that.
Yeah.
So that's what my plan is.
That's a really solid suggestion, Henry. I mean, I think that would be great if you can get maybe to the. You can even suggest the name that Larry gave you. Can you just mute for a second, Henry, because you're repeating on us? Thanks. I'll call you in one sec. I'll call you in as soon as I'm done. The name that Larry gave you is a good name. We could come up with a couple of other names for you at Hutch, urologists, urological oncologists at Hutch. And that's what I would do. Go ahead, Henry.
Good stuff.
For me personally, I think that's a better route for you. It's not really that difficult. You're just advocating to your primary physician at the VA, and more than likely he would agree to refer you to community care. Community care is pretty much on board, kind of like open to the veteran and open to anything that's in their network. I would definitely try that before I would do anything else. I think you'd be in better hands at a center of excellence.
My doctor told me that if anything weird or hard, those are the 2 words, that weird or hard came up, that he would just refer me to the UW, which is, I don't know how that works with what we were just talking about, but
That's probably the community care that Henry was talking about.
Or the Fred Hutch. But that's my next goal. That's in 2 weeks. That's the goal.
So Larry put a couple of names in there, but Montgomery is the guy you want to see. You don't want to see Schweitzer. Schweitzer is a medical oncologist. He's not the doctor that you need at this point in time.
Okay.
You don't need with your diagnosis right now, you don't need a urinary medical oncologist. Michael Schweitzer is a very good doc. He treats a bunch of our guys. We know him. He knows us. He's done webinars for us. But right now, he's overkill for what you're talking about. Way overkill.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I got a new guy that I met in one of the groups up at the hospital. I go to an in-person group also. And he should be in your group tomorrow night. His name's Greg. I don't know his last name, but he should be there. He was diagnosed a year and a half ago. He's T4 or whatever. So he's going to be in your group tomorrow, hopefully. He said he would be there.
Okay. So,
I guess.
anybody else have anything for Brian?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Oh, so it's okay if I had to, I could do the transrectal with the ultrasound. Since I mean, if I had to do the VA, we're going to try to do the other, but if I had to, is that just like a no period?
Seems substandard to me.
Okay.
So
that's what I thought. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Okay, so thank you, Brian. Next, Albert, are you you are next, my friend. Are you ready?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm quite concerned about what's going on with me. I got a second opinion on my biopsy from Dr. Epstein, and he said there was large cribriform morphology, whereas the Mayo Phoenix pathologist said it was focal cribriform. And apparently, I've done a lot of research about it. The large cribriform is essentially, other than 5, it seems like it's essentially is 5, or it's as dangerous as 5 in terms of metastasis and mortality. Yeah, Mayo said focal cribriform glands, and Epstein said large cribriform morphology. Well, I mean, maybe Epstein is wrong, and I don't know. I've tried to find out if it's less of a bad diagnosis to be focal cribriform glands, but it may be splitting hairs. So basically, I have a PSMA scheduled for this Friday at Mayo Phoenix. I had been trying to run down the newest PSMA machine in America, but have been unsuccessful with that. I've read reviews that say it's an order of magnitude, maybe 10 times better in terms of detection rates and seeing things that maybe the older machines, they're not old, but just not the latest and greatest, might miss. So I'd rather travel and get on a better machine, but Mayo and Rochester has it, but they won't guarantee that they would put you on it for your particular scan. So I've been able to find anybody else with it. So short of, I'm going to look a little more, but short of finding somebody this week, I'm going to go ahead and do the PSMA on Friday because I'm pretty worried about this having already metastasized, or that it will if I keep dragging my feet. So I have also scheduled an appointment for Thursday of next week at Mayo Phoenix with a radiation oncologist to discuss treatment. And I'm not sure that's the best route to go. I am on Medicare, and I don't want to burn one of my understanding is I basically can get a first opinion, then a second opinion, and if those differ, Medicare would pay for a third opinion to break the tie, so to speak. So I don't have a lot of confidence. I've researched the radiation oncology department at Mayo. Most of them are under 8 years. It seems like they had three doctors retire recently, so that means they were older and more experienced. It seems like it's a younger cohort, although I'm not sure, but a younger cohort of doctors, 2 or 3 of whom have been residents at Mayo there. So I'm really thinking that I'm headed down the road for treatment, and I'm really wanting to get an idea of what the best route to take would be. I'm leaning towards radiation. If it's spread, then of course that's going to affect what's going to have to happen. Hopefully, if it's metastasized, it'll be a local metastasis rather than distant.
So, Albert, if I could interrupt you for a second.
Certainly.
At the last meeting, you said you were getting a PSMA. Did you get one?
Well, no, I'm getting that this Friday.
Okay. Well, I was under the impression you were going to get one like the day after or 2 days after our last meeting.
That because
okay.
I wanted
to
look into
that's fine. You canceled it, but you got your second opinion from Dr. Epstein. He didn't downgrade any of your cancer. You didn't say anything about the 4+3 or anything.
He did. He downgraded the 4+3 to a 3+4, but it was 50% 4, and he said 1 more percent and you would have been 4-3. And with the large cribriform structures, I don't know how scary that is, but what I read is alarming.
So,
like
I mean,
I attended a Cooperberg webinar or recorded recently, and he talked a lot about large cribriform as being maybe the most predictive factor for metastasis down the road, and he didn't talk a lot about mortality, but certainly metastasis, that, and it being basically equivalent to 5. So
yeah, so I'm not familiar with large cribriform versus, I mean, I'm familiar with cribriform phraseology itself, but the different forms of it that you mentioned, I'm not familiar with it personally.
okay.
But I will say that, you know, if Dr. Epstein, he pretty much agreed with your last diagnosis.
Oh yeah.
What you just said about his second opinion, it wasn't really a downgrade. It was pretty much saying you have pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you want treatment, you have to decide on what treatment that you get. And
yeah, well, I'm pretty much in that boat where I do want treatment. I'm just trying to decide between surgery and radiation and ADT. I talked to my urologist at Mayo. He was talking about focal nano knife. I believe it was nano knife instead of cyber knife. Yeah, it was nano knife, a focal ablation, or the other was HIFU. And I'm leaning away from that. And so I am sort of narrowing. I'm thinking I'm going to have to go on ADT. I'm thinking I would prefer to do the oral or Govix route, or estradiol, or whatever it's called, rather than Lupron, but maybe I'll have to do Lupron, so that's okay. But really, I need a doctor or team or center to help me, guide me in this more than, I'm not super comfortable with Mayo's radiation oncology department. And as I said, my urologist is not really, he's basically recommending the focal ablation, and that doesn't, I don't know if that is going to be suitable.
Rick's got his hand up, and I know he knows a bit more about cribriform than I do.
Okay.
And I have another comment after Rick. Rick, are you there?
Yeah, sorry. Well, I just put a link in the chat window for you. It doesn't include cribriform, but it's going to give you a pretty good idea. And I think you can, I don't think, if it were me, I wouldn't be doing focal. Because with cribriform and enough 4 to be a marginal 4+3 or 3+4, I would drill down with Frendel on whether you're a good candidate. And I think you can do that. You can advocate for yourself and say, am I really a good candidate for focal, Dr. Frendel? Because Dr. Epstein seems to think I could almost as easily be a 4+3 or as a 3+4.
Right.
And I would, and if it were me, I would not be doing focal. Now, in terms of your PSMA scan, you're sort of focusing, don't focus on the weeds. The difference between PSMA machine A and PSMA machine B, it's not worth driving yourself nuts and traveling across the country for a different PSMA machine. What you've got to do is get a PSMA. That's much more important than where to get it, when to get it. Getting it is important, and who reads it is important. Those are important. Okay? And if we felt that there was a reason, that there was some uncertainty, then we could send you for a second opinion on who to read it.
Great.
But what's most important is you have got to get that PSMA scan. Don't focus on ADT. You're getting ahead of yourself.
Okay.
Probably if you do radiation, you will need 3 to 6 months of ADT, but you can take that in your stride. It's not that tough. It's not that difficult. What's much more important is who's going to do the radiation, and what the type of radiation is. Stuart can talk to you about that. What type of medical insurance you're on a Medicare supplementary plan right now?
Yeah, I'm on traditional Medicare with a traditional Medicare supplement.
Which one?
Pays for everything. It's United Healthcare G plan.
Okay, so if you're on a G plan and we find that you definitely need radiation, there are going to be alternatives. Stuart will talk to you to this in just a moment.
Okay.
But one possibility for you, which would be an easy possibility, is to go over to UCLA and see Kishan and consider doing the MRI-Linac there. Now, if it turns out that the PSMA shows that it's more complicated, then there are still other alternatives that you may need two types, or you could do brachytherapy plus IMRT, or MRI-Linac plus IMRT. There are a whole bunch of issues, but the first step is to see what the PSMA says, and then to see what the radiation oncologist says. How old are you? 71, 72, Albert?
I'll be 71 in March.
If it were me, I wouldn't do surgery, whatever shape you're in. There are guys who do it, and a lot more guys do it now than they did, but I would not do surgery. I would definitely run the MSKCC nomogram. I put that in the chat window for you, that link. Just click on it, it'll open, you can run it later. That's going to tell you how likely it is that you would need treatment after surgery. And you can run that two ways. You can run it as if you're a 3+4, and you can run it as if you're a 4+3. And it's going to be different, significantly different. But that will give you an idea how likely it is that if you had surgery, you would have to follow it up with radiation after the surgery. Now, it doesn't account for cribriform. We recognize that. But it's going to give you a feel.
Okay.
And, you've got a doctor right now in Frendel who doesn't seem to think you've got anything to worry about it coming back, because he's willing to do focal on you right now. And I would be asking him, you don't think it's going to recur? You don't think with large cribriform it's going to recur? Have you spoken to him since you got the large cribriform diagnosis?
Yes, I have. And he didn't change what his outlook was for success. He was saying about 80%. I need to look at my notes to tell you the absolute on what he said. I cannot recall it. I took about 3 pages of notes. We spoke for an hour last Friday. Anyway, prior to speaking with him, his estimation was 80% success rate. But I also reported to the group, the other group maybe, but that Epstein, I asked him, and he said he was not a fan of focal, that it often comes back and comes back worse. I said that to Frendel, and I can't remember what his exact response to it was, but it wasn't exactly agreeing with him that it comes back and comes back worse. I mean, maybe it was something more along the lines of, well, yeah, it could come back, but who knows how bad. So anyway, he still thought focal could work. And the pitch was that no ADT with focal, 80% success rate, do another biopsy in a year. And if it's bad, go ahead and do radiation then.
Yeah, but you see, I don't think that that's a smart way to go, because then why are you putting yourself through two processes? It should be one process.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
Now, who is the doctor that you are talking about right now, or talking to, the radiation oncologist? Who have they suggested?
His name is Dr. Yu, spelled Y-U. He was a resident. Another doctor that I almost was going to see is Niska. They were both residents at Mayo.
Right. So I would say that the doctor probably, if I was going to get treated there, I would probably go to Vargas.
Okay.
He's been around there the longest. We have some issues with him, nothing serious, but I don't. We've had guys come back and we've had a few differences, but I think that Vargas is probably the guy that we would think would be the best of the bunch there right now.
Well, my question would be, since I'm going to do the PSMA Friday, I'm going to stop chasing better machines. Then my question would be, should I save one of my opinions, so to speak, that will be paid for by Medicare, not do Vargas, and fly to LA and speak with that department instead to start with?
Well, I don't think you have to worry about that. I mean, you're on a G plan.
Yeah.
So Medicare, well, you can see a surgeon, you can see a radiation oncologist. If you want to see a second radiation oncologist, but see how they would treat you at Mayo.
Okay, great.
It's not a second opinion. Seeing a radiation oncologist at Mayo is not a second opinion.
Right. Well, then
it's a different specialty.
Right. Okay. Well, I will, I might have to wait, I don't know, a few weeks for Vargas. We'll see, but hopefully not. It seems like they're scheduling only 2 or 3 weeks out, so I don't think that's going to be a big issue. So I think that's what I'll do. I'll do the PSMA, see what it says, keep the appointment with Vargas, come back to you guys 2 weeks from tonight.
David, did you have something you wanted to bring up with Albert?
Yes, I believe it was Rick who recently pointed out a recent study that found that for guys with cribriform, radiation works a lot better than surgery.
That was posted, yeah, on one of in the emails. It was a 15-year study, and they said it did significantly better. Yeah.
Right, JAMA Oncology that was in. So I agree with Rick. If it were me, I wouldn't do focal. If it were me, I wouldn't do surgery. Problem solved. You just, we've just cleaned the deck for you right there. If it were me. The other thing is, I feel like you're maybe getting yourself a little too anxious about the cribriform. I've seen studies saying that for guys with 4+3, like half of them have cribriform of one sort or another. It's not this rare, zebra affliction that you're one in 1,000 who have it. It's super common. I got 4+3. I got cribriform. In fact, every 4+3 person I know has some cribriform in them. So when you go out and you look at studies that test different treatment options on 4+3s and you see the results, just assume half of them probably had cribriform, and those are the results. They're usually quite good results. So it's not like you're riddled with cancer just because Dr. Epstein said you had cribriform. It's not something to get agitated about. Most doctors, if they recommend a particular treatment and then later find out you got cribriform, they're not going to change that treatment plan. They're like, yeah, you got cribriform, makes it a little more aggressive. What am I going to do different? Nothing. We're still going to do the same treatment. So it's just one of those things. It's good you know you got it. And if it's sort of a choice between a lesser or more aggressive treatment, in my opinion, in my case, I went with a somewhat more aggressive a treatment, partly because of that. But take it in stride.
Yeah. Well, when I looked at this whole presentation by Cooperberg, and the whole study was saying large cribriform is just about the worst thing you could have. They kept banging on about that, and I was like, "Wow, that's
Albert,
what I thought." So it looked
you
grim.
shouldn't read, Albert. You shouldn't read any more of those.
Okay.
But I mean,
Okay.
it's been my, I'm again not an expert on cribriform, but from everything that we've talked about here at AnCan, it's been my understanding. And correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, but once cribriform comes up, they usually want, as David said, to move away from like a focal kind of thing and
Yeah.
back toward the whole gland kind of treatment, because cribriform is more aggressive.
Right. Well,
not to give you anything more to worry about, but you already realize all this. So.
Right. Right.
So,
Well,
do what you're gonna do. What we've suggested. You have your approach plan now. Do that and come back to us, and we'll have more information. So
yeah. And I think I've got enough time to wait 2 weeks to come back to you guys, and hopefully I will have seen Vargas by then.
all right.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Albert.
Albert, you gotta relax, man. This is not gonna kill you. You gotta relax. You will be fine. I posted again that cribriform study. Thank you so much for reminding me, David. It had slipped my mind, but yes, I did post it. We put it in. I put it in again. And start with Vargas, see what type of radiation he suggests. Make sure you talk to him about SBRT. Make sure you talk to him about different types of brachytherapy. He may not do it, but they may be an option for you. And Stuart, speak up here on the MRI-Linac.
Stuart, you're on mute.
MRI-Linac is probably the Cadillac of radiation, because it's real-time monitoring, so that if anything moves, the radiation stops until it's refocused. So it allows them to work with tighter margins, with more sense of security that they're not going to hit tissue outside the prostate.
Right.
And so it's real high quality. Now you'll talk to some doctors who will tell you that SBRT, the latest and greatest versions of SBRT, CyberKnife, have, if not exactly the same, but similar characteristics for being able to work with tighter margins. So, I had the choice. I chose MRI-Linac. But by the same token, I wouldn't get too hung up on the technology. I always think what you really want to focus on is the doctor. The quality of the doctor is probably more important than the tool that they use, because they become good at it. Now, the MRI-Linac is a little bit of an exception, because you only find it at large centers of excellence. So by default, you're probably getting better doctors. You go to UCLA, you've got one of the top guys in the world. So it's an easy way to find a good doctor is in that case. But in general, focus more on the doctor and make sure that you got a good one, and it's somebody that you like and feel comfortable with, that you feel comfortable that if you go that route, that you're gonna like and be able to get good care from the guy. I got the best of both, because I got the machine, but I also got a really great doctor who was really good to talk to, answered your questions, didn't rush you, and that's as important as anything else.
Yeah.
But the real key is if you're going to go radiation, you want to be at a center of excellence. You don't want to be at the local corner SBRT shop.
Right. Well,
And
I'm totally okay.
the only other thing is, I know every Medicare group in the section in the country can be different, but I can tell you personally, I didn't have any issues with number of consults. I went to, saw 4 or 5 different doctors, and Medicare paid for all of them, and there were no questions.
Good. Along those lines, there was one other thing I wanted to bring up, and a friend of mine down the street has cancer, and he's used Dr. Scholl's as sort of a quarterback for him. And I don't really want to do it. I'd have to go to him for initial consult. But the idea is that he has a network of high level doctors, especially, I guess, he's LA, of course, that he says he has a referral network with. And I'm sort of like, I don't really want to do that. I'd rather just do what we're talking about. I go to Vargas, and then if I want to go to UCLA, I can go to UCLA. Does anybody think I should go to Scholl's? Or have any ideas?
At this point, Albert, I would say no. It's like changing course midstream. Don't even worry about it.
Listen, Dr. Scholl's network, our network is probably as good as Dr. Scholl's network. I'm not just saying that. We know the doctors he uses. There aren't that many doctors we cannot get to that he would get to. And we may be able to get to some that he doesn't get to because they don't like him.
Okay.
So do you need Dr. Scholl's? No. Does your friend down the street need Dr. Scholl's? Well, he's got him right now. If he's happy with him, fine. But, I would say, this is being recorded, but I would say, yeah, he's fine, but you don't need him. You don't need him.
Okay, guys.
We're going to make sure you get to see the right docs. That's why I just asked Stuart to talk to you about going to see Keishan if you need that. We got your back on that, Albert.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you for your time, everyone. This has been really reassuring. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Albert, and everybody that contributed. Amir and Sandra, we're coming to you now.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
You have to pardon us. Amir is we're still recuperating from the triple bypass surgery, so he's very fatigue is a huge part of his day, unfortunately. So
yeah,
I understand.
Reclining.
Yep, got it.
So a little kind of a biggish update. We have consulted with some more fairly high, top-notch doctors, including one at MD Anderson and Dr. Keishan, since we last saw you guys. And Amir had his triple bypass surgery. And so we've had now 4 pathologists look at the same set of slides from October 6th when his transperineal biopsy was. We had the community one came up with 4 + 4, OHSU 4 + 3, Dr. Epstein 4 + 3 with large cribriform, and then MD Anderson's came up with 4 + 4. So, I think we feel like Epstein is probably the one to go with, but it's interesting that we now have 4 different pathologists coming up with different answers on that. And as a reminder, he had the 0.76 decipher score. And MD Anderson, it was a colleague of Dr. Stephen Franks, but he wasn't available till March. So we had Kamran Hassanzadeh. He recommended, and they were pretty set on it, even though we had come there to talk about maybe brachytherapy or just learn about the proton therapy, they're pretty set on we needed to do 39 sessions of IMRT at 2 gray and 18 months of ADT because they only go by what their own pathologist says. So they were going by the Gleason 8. The same day, we consulted with Keishan, virtually. And the goal was to talk about MR-Linac and see if.
Hold on one sec. Why did he not talk about any other type of radiation? Why did the guy at MD Anderson only talk about IMRT?
Because of his, I think, a fairly moderate urinary symptoms score, his existing scores. He's answered those questionnaires since we consulted with lots of different doctors lots of times. But they mentioned at OHSU, which was only a few weeks after Amir's bypass surgery, he answered it. His score was 17 on the AUA test. And then at MD Anderson, he answered it. His score was a 12. So they were seeming to be extremely cautious, or I would call it conservative, about not worsening his existing urinary symptoms. And he does take finasteride. He has taken it for years already. So that was the reason. And, you know, I made a point, you know, we did come here to talk about other, you know, you guys offer it all. This place was amazing, by the way. Just how huge MD Anderson, it's overwhelming. And they said, yeah, but this is what we recommend. And it was pretty much, that was it. You know, I said, well, why would we come to Houston for 8 weeks of, you know, low dose IMRT? So. And then Dr. Kishan was an interesting conversation. We wanted to talk about MR-Linac with him and get his recommendations on, you know, how much ADT. And he and his resident mostly talked to us about a clinical trial they were conducting. And that's what our questions were tonight. David nicely reviewed the trial that they're proposing, because he's so much more familiar with reading these things than we are. And we talked by phone yesterday with David, and he suggested bringing it to you guys. It's called the Heatwave clinical trial, and it's a small one. They're only looking for 106 people. 70 some have already, you know, started or completed it. And they're testing, and David, please chime in because you're just so much better at the right vocabulary. Their purposes are to test apalutamide in an intermediate risk Gleason score people, and then using it in combination with, it says, a precision SBRT, which they described as using a CT. It's not MR-Linac, it's using CT, adaptive radiotherapy, that they would do. It sounded like a new CT or live, I don't know, each time they would do the 5 treatments. So it was to find out whether a combination of precision SBRT and potent androgen receptor inhibition with the second generation agent, apalutamide, which is not a form of medical castration, can increase the chances of obtaining an extremely low PSA within 6 months of treatment. This extremely low PSA is termed a PSA complete response and is an early predictor of cure. The second purpose of this study is to find out whether the side effects associated with standard ADT and standard SBRT can be reduced by using apalutamide instead of medical castration and using an advanced linear accelerator to deliver the SBRT. He mostly explained it verbally to us as, with Amir's, you know, cardiac history, that it may have less cardiac and less effects on cardiac and brain, is kind of was my notes I wrote down. And you know, it sounded kind of good, but then it seemed kind of strange, and that's why we sent it along to David to see what he thought. And David, do you want to chime in a little bit?
Well, because of Amir's cardiac pre-existing issues, I of course asked what did their cardiologist say about all that, and they informed me that according to the cardiologist at MD Anderson, correct me if I'm wrong, Amir and Sandra, but he didn't have a problem with any sort of medications like that related to prostate cancer. But my feeling was, well, Orgovix is not known to raise blood pressure, and for just a short period of time taking it, usually the symptoms are pretty mild, and we know what it can do. It's a pretty known quantity. Uh, my concern with this clinical trial was it's just that it's a clinical trial. We don't know what the outcome is. Apalutamide does have can have cardiac effects. If it were me, I would go with Orgovix instead of apalutamide. And I was bothered by the 39 sessions of IMRT, though, from MD Anderson. And my view was if you're going to UCLA, get the MR-Linac, not anything else. So I lean toward the Orgovix plus the MR-Linac, assuming the cardiologists on board are all okay with that. And as far as the 4+3 versus 4+4 and what he's got, as Sandra said, Epstein says it's a 4+3. So I guess I'm tipping in that direction. And I dread to think what 18 to 24 months of Orgovix or Lupron would do, given Amir's current condition. And likewise, even 12 months of apalutamide seems like a lot, which is what he would have to do on that clinical trial.
Yeah.
Well, how much Orgovix would Kishan prescribe with the MRI-Linac?
Yeah, I missed that in my notes. I don't know that he actually said, because he seemed like he was really getting into more this clinical trial. Oh, and the reason for that is because all these questionnaires you answer before you go see someone, right? With the bypass surgery, they left some, so they wire your sternum shut to heal. So he's got a bunch of stainless steel wire in there now. Plus they left these pacer wires, so they had him hooked up to this great big brick of a pacemaker external for a few days after the surgery. When they removed these 3 drainage tubes from his chest, they also cut those wires. So they left a pacer wire, they call it, inside of his chest cavity, which could be removed later, they said. And then he's got all these wires that they wire together the sternum that they've sawn open to have the open heart surgery. So I didn't know enough of the right information, or we didn't, to answer Keyshawn's questions about whether or not MR, as in MR-Linac, would be safe. Since then, we've checked in with the cardiovascular surgeon's office, and they've responded that they have documentation, and they've sent us a letter that it's safe for up to 1.5 Tesla MRI. I sent that to Keisha, and Keisha said, okay, then you could do MR-Linac if you wanted. So I think we need to follow up with Keisha. If he doesn't want to do the clinical trial, we need to follow up with Keisha on his recommendations of pursuing the MR-Linac and how much ADT. And we're also still considering Dr. Peter Rossi in Colorado for brachytherapy. We need to get back in touch with him. That's MR guided brachy that he does, the Mars MR guided brachy.
And one odd thing about Rossi's recommendation, and I've heard the same thing myself from Albert Chang, which is they both feel like if you undergo brachy, you can skip the ADT entirely. Now, when Chang presented that to me, I didn't feel comfortable with that idea. I know 4 to 6 months for 4+3, which is what I have, and what Amir has is standard of care. As I've discovered, 4 to 6 months is not hard at all. usually for most people. So I really am kind of wondering what you folks think about, given Amir's cardiac issues that are still ongoing, and though he's able to walk now, even walk a couple of miles a day, it may be a while before he can rigorously exercise. What you think about even just skipping the ADT, as Chang or Rossi would have said to do in conjunction with Brachy?
Yeah, would Chang or Rossi skip ADT with a 4+4?
Chang definitely would, because I have a friend in Arizona who was treated by Chang in May, and this friend of mine, when he consulted with Chang told him as well the same thing he told me, which is no ADT.
Yeah, and Rossi did know, he didn't know the MD Anderson because we hadn't had that yet, but he did know the 3 different tests, the 4+4 and the 4+3s. So the other thing just to know about the open heart surgery, he's got, we're 1 month past it. It was December 23rd. He's got 2 more months of lifting restrictions, not more than like 10 pounds, or they might increase a little tiny bit, where he sees the doctor on Wednesday to, a 4-week checkup. But plus he's had a shoulder surgery and a wrist surgery, so all of this impacts his ability to lift weights.
My 2 main questions to the group are, first, the apalutamide versus Orgovyx comparison, given Amir's medical history, is one better than the other or none? And also the MRI or IMRT versus MR-Linac, which is known to be easier on the urinary system given his pre-existing urinary issues.
John has his hand up, so let's go to John, and then I'm happy to give you my thoughts on it.
John, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was concerned about the radiation with the Linac machine because my IPSS score was a little high too. I think it was, is that what we're talking about? I think mine was 17 to 20, and I was concerned that if I had any, it would limit my urinary flow, but actually it's gotten better. So that's not a concern. You could always take Flomax, or what's the other one I take? The comparable one. But now there's an issue that could cause glaucoma. 50%. There was a Japanese study, and I kind of have high eye pressure, so that scared me. But I haven't been taking the Flomax, so. But my urinary flow is pretty good. I go every 3 months to my urologist. And the other thing I have is I have the Watchman device because I had atrial fibrillation.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that installed in my chest through my femoral artery, and that's a mesh too. And that was 1.5. That was the issue, whether I could have the MRI guided radiation, and it was compliant. 1.5 Tesla magnet in the Unity Electra at Sloan Kettering. So yeah, I mean, evidently you covered that base already with the mesh that he has with the open heart. So yeah, I had those 2 issues myself. Whether his IPSS, so I had no problem. So that's just my 2 cents. It's not gospel, but that was my other fear that I drove Rick crazy over the group. So yeah, all this comes into play. What do? Do I remove it? So, but so far, knock on wood, I'm not even on the Flomax, and my stream is fine, and I don't get up during the night. So it's I'm on Avodart though, which is finasteride, more potent form of finasteride.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure you know that. So that keeps the prostate from growing. So I've been on that for 20 years. So that's my 2 cents. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
So here's what I would say, and interesting to hear what Stuart and some of the other people have to comment, but I'm familiar with the Heatwave study. I think it was Dr. Solomon, Gil Solomon, who's going through treatment right now with Keishan, not with Keishan, he's doing it with Valle, Keishan's number 2, who mentioned it. I think it's a really great study. It's SBRT, albeit not in the tube. I really like the idea of monotherapy, hormone therapy, as opposed to an ADT drug or or even an ADT drug plus an ARSI. We've known years ago. We knew a guy, Al, can't remember his last name, who did monotherapy in monotherapy apalutamide very, very early on. But of course, this was for a different purpose. My gut tells me that a monotherapy ARSI is going to be more heart friendly than, and certainly a monotherapy ARSI androgen blocker is going to be more heart friendly than an LHRH drug, even if it is an antagonist rather than an agonist, because it's not going to take the testosterone out of your system. And by leaving that testosterone in your system, even with the blocker, there's going to be some benefit. And really, you've got to drill down on that with a cardio-oncologist somewhere, or an oncocardiologist. I never really know which way around to put that, to put them. But I like the idea of, if it were me, I would probably roll the dice on apalutamide plus SBRT versus the MRI-Linac with however much, probably 6 months. As far as I put my money on Epstein. Did MD Anderson indicate cribriform, or did they not comment? Did they say he was 4+4, that you were 4+4 cribriform, Amir, or did they say you were just 4+4?
No cribriform was noted on it.
Here's the thing though about the MD Anderson pathologist, because I sent mine there too a year ago, and it unlike my other report, it came back with no mention of cribriform. So I called the pathologist there and I said, "Oh, you didn't see any cribriform?" And she said, "Yeah, we saw it. We just didn't put it down there." And I said, "Why not?" And she said, "Because it won't change the treatment plan." And I was like, afterward, I was like, I'm the patient. Shouldn't I have that information? So they did see it on mine, but they didn't put it down.
Okay, so they may have seen it. Look, I think if you've got large cribriform 4+3, you've probably got to treat it as if it were high risk. And I think that's the bottom line. And that's why they're talking about longer periods of ADT. But if we could get away with in hormone therapy with the apalutamide, it's much more patient friendly. Monotherapy apalutamide is going to be a lot more patient friendly than Orgovyx.
Okay.
Now,
why are you calling it monotherapy? What is?
Oh, because it's not accompanied by an LHRH drug,
Which is what? LHRH.
which would be Orgovyx or Lupron or something like
Okay,
that.
just by itself. Yeah, okay. But we're
So
still having radiation.
here's sort of what this trial is about. There's first-line hormone therapy, which is usually an LHRH drug, either an agonist or an antagonist. Luteinizing hormone something, I forget what I should know. I've been around it for 17 years, but I can't bloody remember. I never remember what LHRH stands for, but it doesn't really matter for your purpose. What that drug does is it cuts off your testosterone.
Right.
And it's also used to cut off estrogen. So that same drug is used for fertility treatments with women, etc., etc. So the drugs work in different ways, but essentially they do the very same thing, which is cut off the testosterone. It's how they cut off the testosterone that is different between them. And the drugs that cut the testosterone off right away are called the antagonists, and those are better drugs heart-wise than the agonists. And Orgovyx is an antagonist, Firmagon is an antagonist, and the other drugs like Zoladex and Lupron and Eligard, they're all agonists. The other way to prevent testosterone from reaching the prostate cancer cells is with a second-line anti-androgen, an androgen receptor signaling inhibitor or pathway inhibitor, which are called ARSI or ARPI drugs, or apalutamide is an ARSI. And so you can put a man on apalutamide and still let him have testosterone in his body. And we seem to think that it may work as well as getting both therapies. Most men with aggressive prostate cancer or metastatic prostate cancer, recurring prostate cancer, will get both drugs right now. Although we hope in the long run they'll only get the one that blocks the testosterone from reaching the prostate cancer cells rather than removing the testosterone altogether, because that's a friendlier drug for the men. And this trial is about, could we use this second-line anti-androgen that blocks, think of it as being a key that goes in the keyhole, and the keyhole is how the testosterone gets to the prostate cancer cell, but we stick a key in that keyhole, and so it's blocked, and so the testosterone can float around, but it's not getting to the cell. And that's the drug they want to use, which is apalutamide, which is the one that's made by J&J.
Right.
So this trial is a J&J trial to see if some form of radiation therapy, in this case SBRT, plus apalutamide will do as well. Now, I cannot speak to the cardiac effects of apalutamide versus an LHRH, although my gut tells me that probably they're going to be better. You're better off having the ARSI than you are having the LHRH drug and having no testosterone in your body. Is it going to make a difference if he was willing to do 6 months of Orgovyx versus 12 months of apalutamide? again, that's really tough. That's where you've got to get a good cardio-oncologist.
Okay.
Have them advise you on that. But even up, I like this trial. I would not if it were me, I would do it, and I encourage people to consider it very seriously, even up. Do I know which is better for the urinary, the MR-Linac, or the SBRT? My feeling is that if Kishan was doing the SBRT, it's probably not going to be a big difference, but that's based on the operator.
Yeah, and he said it's not going to be him, but it's someone he has trained to do it because it's at a different location than where Keyshawn is. It's Santa Clarita, about half an hour away.
Yeah, I know where that is. But yeah. So that's my 2 cents. But I'd like to hear from some other people and see what they think. Stuart has his hand up, so that's perfect.
I just wanted to talk for a few minutes, just briefly, about the whole concept of being in a trial, because I'm in a trial, and so I have some firsthand experience. And there are a lot of people that have a negative reaction to being in a trial and just don't like the idea of it, and that's something you sort of would have to consider. It's everybody. I don't know which phase of trial this is. Is everybody getting the same design treatment at this point?
I think so. It was just if you have, it's based on the Decipher score. If it's not aggressive, they're doing 6 months of the apalutamide. And if your Decipher score is high or above some level, they're doing 12 months.
Okay, but it's not a blind study where half get the treatment and half don't. So
it's a
in
phase
that
2 study.
It's a phase 2.
Sorry, Stuart. It's a phase 2, yeah, according to the website.
So you can make the assessment as to whether or not you're interested in or like the idea of what the treatment is and how, what your alternatives are. But I'll just mention that one of my experiences about being in the trial is some of the benefits of being in the trial. One is that it gets you're front and center with very good doctors. And more importantly, I can tell you that my experience is you seem to get better, more attentive response and treatment from the doc and the whole group in the clinic because they know you're in the trial. You're once you're in the trial, you're sort of special in their eyes, and you seem to get more attentive care. And that's what I've experienced with both of my doctors in the trial. So, don't be afraid of it just because it's a trial. If you like the idea, there are some very positive things that could come from it.
Okay, there. Thank you, Stuart. Are there any other thoughts?
What did you say, Boykin? I'm sorry.
I was just asking if there were any other thoughts.
I didn't see. I'm looking at the trial right now, and I put the link to the trial in the chat, so you can all see it there. I am going through it pretty quickly. I don't see where they talk about various doses of apalutamide, but that would make sense if it's a phase 2. because that's what they do in phase 2 trials. They try to come up with the right dose. So that makes perfect sense, but I don't see it outlined. I don't see it outlined in the trial, which is weird because it should be. It should be outlined. The amount of apalutamide should be outlined somewhere in the trial. Cycles repeat every 28 days for up to 6 to 12 months in absence of disease or progression. So, yeah, it doesn't talk about it sort of says that you're taking your apalutamide daily, but it's 6 to 12 months, and it doesn't talk about the decipher and how they're grading it. The fact is, number one, you can get out of the trial anytime you want. So if you're not happy, you can leave. Secondly, they're going to be monitoring you very closely. You have to make sure that they can do all that monitoring from Portland.
Yeah.
Okay? Because that can be tricky. So if they say, oh, yeah, it's fine, and they want you in, but you've got to do all your blood tests in LA, well, that would say to me, forget about it.
Yeah, he said it could be done in Portland.
Okay. So if all of the tests can be done, that's really important. And they're going to keep a very close eye on you. You're probably going to be talking to somebody from the trial monthly. And if there's any concern at all, especially with your heart situation, they're going to pull you, they'll pull you off the apalutamide. Do you need the apalutamide? Well, as you heard, Albert Chang doesn't even do it. I didn't even know that, but Albert Chang doesn't do it. So could you get by with 6 months? Probably, based on Kishan's and Spratt's most recent study that they just published. Kishan, I doubt Kishan would give you more than 6 months anyway. If you were 4+3, he might go to 12 months, but I don't see he'd give you more than 6 months. So, you know, you can negotiate with him, probably as long as you go out 6 months, you can negotiate with him on the apalutamide after that.
One little correction. All I can say for sure is Chang would recommend no ADT if you have brachy. Whether he would recommend that for Beam, I don't know.
Right. I don't really understand that, and I'd love to ask Albert. And if he shows up at GU ASCO and I see him there and I can grab him, I will ask him why. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting that these two doctors that do the brachy, at least these two, Chang and Dr. Peter Rossi, seem very confident in their brachy killing the cancer, that they don't, recommend the ADT.
Well, yes and no. You see, I would argue they can be 100% sure that it's killing the cancer inside the gland. But how can they be so sure that if anything got out, that's going to be taken care of? And if they say, well, if it comes back, then we'll do some more later. Oh, well, that doesn't sit well with me. I'd rather do the time up front and get it done, and hopefully then you don't have to get treated again, like I was lucky enough to happen to me. Okay, but I did a lot more hormone therapy, but that's the way that I tend to think on this. And so I don't know why Albert's saying. I mean, he has in the past. We've seen him. I know people he's treated that he's given to, but why he doesn't think you need to do it now, I don't think the HDR is any different to what it was. I mean, it may be more efficient, but so I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there are trials, so I don't want to comment, but certainly, but I really, have you seen a cardio-oncologist anywhere?
No. I know you gave us the name of the one in Seattle at Fred Hutch.
Yeah, what's her name? Anna Stopolos. Right.
And Dr. John Amir talked to Dr. John several before the surgery.
Yeah.
And he talked about somebody in Southern California, but he didn't. He said if somebody recommends a long course of ADT or some reason, he would give us the name. We haven't asked him yet for the name.
I wonder who he was thinking of.
Yeah,
I wonder if Keyshawn himself could recommend someone at UCLA. Because he clearly would like you in the study, so
yeah.
I like he might
Yeah.
be motivated to wrangle up an oncocardiologist for you.
Good idea.
Yeah. Effie Andrikopoulou is the lady.
Yeah.
And we know others. We know some others in other places. I don't know who John's thinking of. I mean, I think I'm pretty sure I've Googled this before. I think there is a cardio oncologist at UCLA. But yeah, UCLA provides comprehensive cardio oncology services. Yang. Looks like it's a guy called Eric Yang. I think that seems to ring a bell. I don't know anybody who's seen him, but yeah, he's the guy who comes up at UCLA Health. There's probably not going to be more than one because it's still a pretty specialized specialty. There aren't a lot of them around, but we do know where there are some. But ask, yeah, that's a great idea, David. Ask Kishan.
Yep.
The only problem is, and I hate to say it,
yeah,
but you might get a bias. You might that there may be a academic conflict of interest in there, because if he says, "Oh, I wouldn't do apalutamide, but you're okay on Orgovix," then Kishan's going to throttle him, and he's never going to send another guy to him.
Yeah.
That was my concern about going to see somebody who's in the same place as the trial. It could, because these guys scratch each other's backs, especially when it comes to trials.
Yeah, we had that feeling, or at least I did, at the cardiologist at MD Anderson. They work for a cancer center, but they're cardiologists clearing people who have maybe heart issues to be able to proceed with cancer treatment. So people happy with their treatment. And he was just like, "Oh yeah, no big deal. Go ahead and do whatever treatment they say to do." And it made us kind of, it was like I was trying to.
That's who I know who he was going to refer you to. Yes, that would be great. Yes, Javid Moslehi. I think he's one of your peeps, Amir.
Moslehi?
I think he's one of your peeps. And yes, that's who John was thinking of. Yes, Javid, Javid Moslehi, Moslehi. That's the guy that John was thinking of. But he is at UCLA because we've done some work with him and John was on a panel with him. That's the guy. I'm pretty sure he's Persian. I think he's Persian. And he's a very, very nice guy. But I still have this concern about academic conflict of interest.
Yeah.
But that's definitely who he was talking about. So
do you think we would be better trying to get with the one in Seattle that you mentioned than that? Just
yeah. I don't think she knows us. She might know us. She's a fireball. She's got a great personality. But you know what? It wouldn't hurt. Oh no, wait a minute. Javid Moslehi's at UCSF.
Oh,
okay. He's not at UCLA. So yes, ask John to set you up with Moslehi.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
And I would do that. I would do that rather than even Effie Duda. because John knows Mosley. We know him. He's really good, and he's not at UCLA.
Okay.
So you want me to put his profile? I'll put his profile in the. Amir, did they take your voice as well as your heart?
Sorry.
There you go.
What's going on there? Are you there?
What was the question?
He said, did they take your voice away as well as your heart? Because you're not talking. I'm doing all the talking.
No, Sarah does a much better job of explaining things. So I just, she's been a great help of doing the research, speaking on my behalf, and just, following up. So I just let her take care of it.
That's okay. I'm teasing you. Are you okay? How are you feeling? We want to hear,
I am actually doing everything considered pretty well. I deal with quite a bit of fatigue. There's still chest pain and nausea, good part of the day. And then when it comes to evening, I am just super tired, especially after we do, a couple of miles of walking.
God bless you. You're doing great.
Yeah, but everything is going well. It's just a little slow, but it will get there.
You'll get there. All right. So
Albert had his hand up. So
ask John to see if he can get you an appointment, if he can reach out to Dr. Mosley. If not, one of us can do it. At UCSF, we have all kinds of contacts, and one of us can do it, and we'll write.
Do you think they do virtual, or do we have to go?
UCSF can be tricky. Have you done virtual with any other Californian people? Bye, Bill.
Keyshawn.
You did virtual. You did.
I tried to do UCSF, and from Portland, they wouldn't do it.
No, I
but
know.
I don't know if that was doctor specific or institutional.
I don't know. But raise it with Dr. John when he reaches out to Mosley and see, and you'll see. I do know other people, and I do know people that have had to drive across the line into California to have but they were down in Ashland, which is a bit different from you.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's got family down in the Bay Area, so that we might need to go. So I mean, there might be, it's the same with Houston. I had family there. It makes it easy when you have family in the place you're going to.
Yeah.
So, hey, Albert, you've had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, I was just wanting to ask Rick. You had said if Keyshawn was running SBRT, you would feel comfortable with it, and they were saying, well, no, it would be at a satellite facility. Do you think that's significant? If he weren't running it in terms of it being equivalent to Linac in terms of accuracy?
I think that if it's all in the trial, it's going to be it's going to get discussed with Keyshawn. If is Keyshawn the PI on the trial? I didn't look.
I think so.
I had collaborators and investigators. It doesn't say. I don't know. It wouldn't be. Yes, Keyshawn's the PI. If Keyshawn's the PI, I wouldn't be concerned. If Keyshawn's the principal investigator, I wouldn't be concerned if it's as an SBRT facility in Santa Clarita versus the MRI-Linac machine. How about you, Stuart?
Yeah, again, my experience is that, I know, my doctor, is he running the machine? No. they have a plan that they create in advance, which is signed off on by the doctor, and then they turn it over to the technicians to execute. So in this case, if Dr. Keyshawn is on the trial, he's overseeing the plan.
Yeah.
And and I wouldn't be worried about the fact that he's not in the room when the machine's turned on.
Yeah, that's what he described, that he would be making or part of the planning and checking in and overseeing, but it's just a different person that actually does it at that office.
Yeah. Right. So, did you see the link in the chat window?
Yeah.
For Mosley?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, you got your marching orders. We got to go home. If we keep going, everybody's going to drop off. It's going to mean
Drop off on us anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for all the time and all of the input from everyone. It's really helpful.
Okay, everybody. Well, with that, have a good evening. Have a good night.
Okay. Good night, everybody.